Hi, I'm Dali from Dali Art, and today I'd like to share with you this brand new substrate we have, which is an ice skate, and it's absolutely beautiful. So you've got the boot and then you've got the base as well, which is a snowflake. Now you could actually use these as two separate pieces. Now this is very, very thick. It's absolutely beautiful and it's very, very strong, and all you do is just click it in. You don't even have to glue it. So if you wanted to, just for safety's reasons, you could do, but I'm not even going to do that. So this is what we're going to do today, is we're going to decorate this. And the paper I'm going to use is the Stamperia rice paper, which I absolutely love. It's like the bird song. It's got some beautiful colours in there. Absolutely a beautiful paper. Absolutely gorgeous to work with. So that's one of our DFSs. I can tell you actually what the number is on that. That's DFS 383, if anybody's interested. So what I'm going to use is, we have this paint system. It's called cracking paint system, and it's a two-parter. I always have to do this because I always get it the wrong way around. And then we've got number one. So number one, let's turn him around. I have to get the hang of this. Number one is the cracking paint system, which you need to apply. And then I've got these three beautiful, sort of rich, vintage colours, which I've actually selected as a kit, but also work really well with the actual paper. So let's get started. First, what you do is I'm going to do the base. So let's put all this aside so we don't get that dirty. And I'm going to start on the base, and I'm going to crack the base, and I'm going to use that cracking paint system I talked about. So just make sure your piece is clean and not dust free. And then all you need to do is just go in, just dip it in, and it is like a glue. Just go over the top of the surface. Don't worry if you get it over the edges, it all adds to the effect. For me, it's just such a lovely product to work with. And then just put it as if you were gluing something, about that same amount. You want to put a certain amount down because that's going to help you with your cracking. So let's just put some more onto this bit. Do you know, I'm having so much fun making these videos. It took Paul ages to convince me I should do one, and now I'm a bit addicted. And all I want to do, actually, it just gives me an excuse to play. It's the only reason. He's laughing. It's not funny. So here we go. Now you could do both sides if you wanted to, and like I mentioned earlier, you could even do this as a separate. So just be careful that you don't actually get any into the actual centre, because otherwise it won't clip on. And if you've got any over the edges, like I said, please don't worry, and then make sure you put your brush back into water so that it doesn't get sticky. So there we go. So all I'm going to do now is I'm going to heat dry that very quickly. And in fact, I'll just leave it to dry actually while I'm doing So what I'll do is I'll leave that to dry, in fact, while I do the other bit. So let's go back to the boot. Now the way I want to work with the boot is I want to make sure that it's all covered with rice paper, but the part I don't want to cover is the bottom bit. So we can either cover it and then colour it over it, but I think I would like to leave that bit blank. And I'm sort of going to take a sort of marking that I want it up to here. So look at the bit of the rice paper that you want to use. In my case, I thought it would be really nice just to use use the little bird's nest. I just really liked it, and then finish off with this little bit at the top. So I think that was a really nice bit of the paper to use. Now the best way to do this is to actually take a wet paintbrush, just with lukewarm water, and go around the design of where you want to actually cut. So let's have a look. So let's just, doesn't matter if it goes over the top, we can always file that back, but the idea is we sort of want it to sit so it's just above. So let's just have a think about that, and then obviously there is shape to this, and that's it. So roughly we're going to go with a bit there. Doesn't matter if it's better to have it larger than smaller. So let's keep it like that. and have it a little bit larger than smaller. And then that way you've got less chance if you do tear or anything, you've got that. Now the best way to do this is to take your thumbs and finger, both your thumbs, and I just take both of them and I just pull. So you can see that I'm just pulling. Now if you get a fibre like I've got here, as you can see, it's a little bit tougher. Don't worry, rice papers from Stamperia have been designed to be handled and to be able to do this sort of technique, especially when you're going to be adding lots of different products to them. So it's really, really important. So now what we're going to do is we're just going to put that, there we go. Now I'll put that aside, so you could still got so much rice paper left to do other techniques. And I'm going to do one side of the boot today, but you could do both sides of the boot. So now you can see that I've actually got that, and it's quite nice. Now just have a think about where you want to position it. So let's have a think, let's have a look. So that's quite nice, maybe a little bit over so I can still get the flowers on the edge and I can get the bird. Now you're probably wondering, what do I apply this with? Right, we have 3 matte mediums, decoupage, varnish and glue. One is for paper, so you've got this one. The other is for textiles, and the final one is for ceramic. So this is really for MDF canvas work. So again, take your brush, just take some of the matte medium and take it directly onto your boot. Before I do that, and it's just occurred to me, it would be better to paint your boot if you want the colour to pop even more on your skate. So let's just let me have a little think about that, because I was just about to stick it down. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take, I'm not going to crackle it, I'm just going to take the pink crackle and just apply that. So all I'm trying to do here is just to give it, and it's so lovely, the quality of this MDF, it's just so beautiful. And what this will do is it'll just make the design pop a little bit more. So you've got just that, just at the bottom, there we go. So this isn't about making it all perfect, this is just about basically doing your ice skate to give it a little bit more coverage, a little bit more colour underneath. So there we go, and this will dry pretty quick. So there we go. And then what will happen is when I do stick this on, it will just pop it a bit more. So whereas before you'll see it's light, so you'll see this translucency. When you put it down, it will be a little bit more popped and add this little bit of shading behind it. So that's why I wanted to do that. Right, going back to actually applying this, let me just give that a quick dry, so it won't take me long. And I just love, I mean, this is just a rough, this is just rough, but it's not about, just take a little bit of hair I've got on there. It's not about the actual perfection of that. And actually, I quite like that look. Right, so now let's apply. Now let's go back to where I was with the matte medium, and all we do is we put that straight down on the boot. Now you're probably thinking, oh my gosh, the lace holes. Don't worry, what we're going to do is we're going to just take a paper clip or a pokey tool and we're just going to push everything through that. So it's not too bad. So all you need is a good coat of where you're going to put the rice paper. It is translucent, so if you do go over, don't worry about it. You know, at home, take your time and just do this. There we go. I'm just always conscious, even when I'm on TV I'm conscious, but I'm always conscious that I don't want to take too long over things. You know, and obviously when you do it at home, again, I'm just putting it on so I know I've covered every little bit, otherwise it will lift. Right, going back to where we want it, we sort of want it so it's going to be sort of positioned about, I think there's good. Just a little bit over, so we've got that bit. So there we go. So that's where I just put that down very, very smoothly, and there we go. And that's just the start. If you feel you've left any bits out or anything like that, you can always go back in again. Now, this is very important that you then go back and starting from the middle, you start to push that paper out. Make sure you've got it really on the edges. This way you'll get no air bubbles. I mean, the paper is so beautiful anyway. And then we'll just go back in again. There we go. Wherever you've got the rice paper down. If you feel you need to stick it down more on the other side, then do that, because otherwise it will lift. And you don't want that, definitely not. There we go. And then we're just going to go in and we're just going to do that all over it. I just want a good coat of it. And this also protects it, so if you want to add another layer of something, you've actually protected it quite well. So just have a look. If you feel it's lifting anywhere, then just make sure you've got that covered. So look, we've got a little bit of an air bubble there. Let's go back in there. Let's add a little bit more to it. Let's cover that a little bit more. Don't worry, it's not going to, the rice paper is very, very strong and it's going to be very, very sturdy. There we go. Okay, so now you can either let this dry naturally or you can use the heat gun. While this is still drying, what I'm going to start doing is I'm just going to take the heat gun just to the bottom bit, because I actually want to start on the glamour on the bottom. So let me just take that, and while I'm doing that, I need a sanding block. I think it's just by my workshop bench actually, Paul. Sorry about that, I forgot to get it. This is it's just so that you can sand it, it just makes it a little bit easier. Sometimes I use my nail file as well, so thank you. And that works as well. It's just going to look so pretty, I hope. I already love it. So all we want to do is then just take your sanding block, and I know some of you bought the kit, so you will have all this. And all this is going to do is just take off the edges, and it just makes it so much smoother when you're doing it. So can you see how lovely that edge is now? Now if you were to tear that, that wouldn't give you the same edge. So, put my finger on it while it's still wet, that's not a good idea. So if you just keep going in, and then just taking that away. And there we go. You can see it's just falling away. And do make sure you've dried it all, because otherwise what you're going to get is and then you can just even pull at it when it's done. It's where the fibres are that you might have difficulty, and you can always go back in again and cut those fibres off. Just pull them a little bit. Just be careful when you're doing that. So can you see how now that is so smooth and the edge is done on that bit? So, and then we just keep going around the boot and we do the same. And sometimes I actually do use my nail file, because that makes it a little bit easier. So it's coming out so smoothly, it's just so nice. It's a little bit of time, but you know, take your time and just make it such a beautiful project. Oh, that's my phone in the background. I thought I'd switched it off, but I hadn't. So, sorry about that. There we go. So you can see where we're going with this. So just keep going at that, and then can you see now already how beautiful that looks? Just where we've got to with it, just with one rice paper and a little bit of paint. So it's looking really, really pretty. Right, so now this is a little bit more tricky, because you've got like a bit here which is going to be a little bit harder to take away. And if you find it's difficult, you can always cut it away at the bottom as well. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to actually push it up and push it up, and then just take it over. And then what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to, rather than even try and do that, I'm going to actually take a bit of the mixed media and I'm just going to put it onto the base, and this will give it a really nice finish. So let's pull that bit out as we can. And if you want to, you can even go over the edges again with all of it. So let's just make that neater. So we're just doing that. There we go. Pull that bit out as well. There we go. So it's just trying to meet, it's neatening it up at the same time, making it really, you know, just a beautiful piece. So there we go. So just put a little bit of ink gel onto that, so that we've got that. So there we go. And I'm just going to do the edges again. I just love it. I think it's beautiful. So that's where we've got to with that. Just wipe off any bit at the bottom. Now we have a whole range to make the actual ice skate at the bottom pop. So let me show you what that looks like. So let's take some, look at that, it's so beautiful. So I'm going to take that and I'm going to start painting it. And the idea here is it looks like metal basically, and you can just see how beautiful that's going to look. Can you see that? It just looks like a metal piece of blade, and the whole idea. So just make sure that you actually do, you know, do the sides and underneath, and because you're going to have this at an angle. So remember that this is going to be at an angle. So you'll probably want to paint in all of that. I mean, it's just such a beautiful ice skate. It really is. And with dancing on ice, this is really quite magical. It's quite a nice a gift as well for someone to be making. We're going to put a little kit together for you, so that you can actually either give it as a gift or use it. And you know, ice skating doesn't have to be about Christmas. It can be any time of the year. It might be somebody who's quite sporty, who actually likes ice skating. So there we go. So you can just see how beautiful that already is. So let's just put a little bit more on the... Now you can, you know, do this in so many different ways. And again, you can just see, I'm even going to do the bottom side of this. Such a nice piece of, it's really like a thick wood really. I know it's MDF, but it is so beautifully made, so sturdy. It's just like beautiful. And these delicates are absolutely amazing. I put no primer on, nothing at all, and it's still going really strongly. So it is absolutely brilliant. There we go. So can you see now how beautiful and shiny that is? So that's absolutely beautiful. Right, so what we want to do now is, so we don't get it all everywhere, let's just wipe that away a little bit so it's nice and dry. And what we want to do is we want to just dry that off so it's not everywhere. So that's absolutely a really lovely effect. We could crackle on top of that. We could add more sort of like a iridescence and so forth. I've still got a little bit more to paint by the looks of it. I think I've missed a few bits, so let me go back in and do that. So I can just see I've missed a little bit there. Let's have a look at that. Oops, made a right splash there. They're just so thick, these paints. I mean, they're just so lovely. So look, I just forgot to do this bit, so I'm going to go back in again and do that. And you know, you can use a smaller brush, but I think it's nice to get that really nice finish, because otherwise you are going to see it because it is sitting at an angle. So just be aware of that. Okay, I missed that little bit there. Makes you wonder which bit I did do. There we go. And then on the edges, I don't want to paint it all silver. I want to sort of bring a colour in that I think that's going to work really well with the rest of it. So isn't that lovely? Oh. So that's where we've got to with that. So now you can see how lovely that looks. And now it's all about adding colour, adding some effects and taking it to the next level. So what I would like to do is, we've got some beautiful moulds from Stamperia, and what I've done is I've taken some air dry clay here, and I'm going to be using that to decorate the top of my boot. So it's going to look like that. It looks so special already. So let's start doing that next. Just wipe this off so that we've got this all nice and clean. Otherwise we're going to stick everything onto that. Right, so the colour, I'm going to have a look at the colour that would work best for me, bearing in mind I've got quite a lot of colour of blues and etc. So we could go for a blue, but I think, do you know, I might even stick to a pink with the flowers, or could I go with the green? I think pink. I think pink works for me. Let's colour this in with the... I'm going to use, keeping it all in the same family. I know this is crackle system, but I'm going to keep it all in the same family and just do this with this. So let's go in again. And again, just go in, stipple it in slightly. This is just air dry clay by Stamperia, and such a beautiful, again, another beautiful product to work with. And the idea is that all I'm doing is just stippling that in and just putting a little bit on the top. And because the crackle is actually quite thick, it's quite easy to do that. And then what we could even do is we could even, then that will sit on the top there. So let's just put a little bit more, because it isn't really about adding too much, so you can see how thick that is and how lovely it is to work with it as well. Let's just keep doing that. And I don't want it to be perfect. It's still creating an effect here, but can you see how lovely that's going to look when that sits on top? So it's going to add that little bit more definition to it. So that's a really nice way to do it. Now, I've also got some beautiful snowflakes here, which I think I'm just going to randomly put on. Let's have a look how they look, because it makes it look a little bit more Christmassy. So let's go in with those, and let's get an effect going on with those. Oops, I'll touch that. So what I want to do here is I want to actually crackle these. So the best way to crackle these is to use that paint system I was talking about earlier. And do exactly what I started to do with the base coat, which we will be coming back to. And all we need to do is just take this over the actual snowflake, the paint system, and there we go, and that's all we're doing, and there we go, and do it on all three, and there we go. Just let that dry. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my base coat while these are drying, and just, that's actually quite dry. I mean, it's not dry in all places, but don't worry about that. And what we're going to do is we're going to actually take, what do you think, Paul? Pink, blue? You can't see anyway, he's colourblind.
Blue.
So we're going to go for blue because it'll match the bird, and we can always bring some of that blue into the main picture as well. So all you do is you're going to take your system paint 2. I'm going to take a spatula and I'm just going to apply it all over the base. Like I said, be careful with the middle bit. If worse comes to worse, this can be sanded back. And I haven't even coated this in another colour because I actually really like this blue, and I think it's just such a nice blue. And then what we're going to do is watch this crackle. So what I'm going to do is, while I've got this on my spatula, just take that bit out, because the last thing I want is it to be stuck, is I quite like this effect. Is actually put a little bit of the blue actually onto the boot as well. And that also brings everything back in again. That's what it's about. It's about bringing it all in. So let's just wipe that off. And let's watch this crackle. So here we go. So you'll see the cracks forming. It's going to be such a lovely effect. And I quite like that sort of vintage look about it. I don't know if you can see that, but look at that. It's amazing. Thank you, Paul. And you can see the thickness of that actual snowflake as well. It's been making a beautiful, beautiful base. Oh, I love that. So let that dry a little bit. I think that's a bit thick bit there. Let's pull that out. There we go. And so that gives you an idea of how beautiful this crackle actually works, and the colours are amazing. I've got a little bit extra there, so I'm just pulling that out. But that'll dry and that'll be great. So that's where we've got to with this. So it's just so pretty. So you can just see. So what we're going to now start to do with that is we've got some beautiful, it's called ice effect, and it's a paste. It's absolutely gorgeous. Just take this away for you and then show you how rich it is. So look at that. Oh, it's beautiful. So let's have a play with that. So what we want to do is we want to add this to the snowflake at the bottom. Again, be careful of the, see, and now just look at that. It's just so nice, and that blue is just so nice. It is like an ice effect. And so we just want to cover, not too much, but we just want to cover this so we get this beautiful, beautiful effect on the snowflake. I mean, I just think that's absolutely beautiful. So, and then when this is dry, you can actually go in again, and where you've got the cracks, you can actually go in and highlight them, because the cracks will remain there. If you've got any excess, just take it off and just tidy that bit up. So that's where we've got to. Now with the extra, I'm going to put a little bit onto the top of the boot as well. So you can apply this to anything. And this air dry clay is just amazing, because we've got so many moulds, and again you've got that real lovely sort of bit of snowy glimmer there. So we put a little bit at the top to make it look even more snowy. A bit more at the top, and so you can see. But it's just so, I mean, I just love this effect. And now because it's quite translucent, what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually take it and I'm going to start putting it on a bit of the boot as well, and just scraping it all over, because it makes it a little bit more Christmassy. Just wipe that a little bit. And it's got this sort of fibre to it as well. So, you know, you don't want to take away from the picture, so just be careful you don't put too much on. But you want to be able to put a little bit on so you can see it. And then what you probably want to do is, you can see that, and it's just going to make it so special at night as well. It's going to glisten, and it's just going to be so pretty. And what you want to do is put a lot more onto the bottom base, which is where, you know, we've at the toe of it, so where you've been playing a lot more. So in the snow and the ice. And I think Paul's got a cough. Coughing through the whole video.
Sorry.
So we can just see how beautiful this ice effect is. There we go. So you might have got a bit more caught up in here because of the blade. So there we go. So can you see that? It's just adding to all that effect. and it's just going to be so pretty. I mean, you can carry on and build this all up. So what I want to do now is I want to put that back onto the boot there. So I do need to put my heat gun on in a minute. I'm just going to get that 1 minute. It's just behind me. Just plug that in, I think, over here. Thank you. Not so organised, you know.
It's a glue gun, not a heat gun.
And so basically that will help us stick down. So now we're going to work out roughly what this is going to, we can already see what it's going to start looking like. Let's have a quick nosy. This is so exciting. Let me just get my, what I do is I always have like a little paper clip, so if you've got anything left or anything you want to remove, what I do is I just take my paper clip and then just take anything away, and you can always put a little bit of sandpaper on that to show you as well. So see, bearing in mind this is all wet still, so be careful with it. Now we want to just try and put that back in again, which I'm hoping I will be able to do. This is where I was saying that you have to be really, really careful that you don't put too much. I put that the wrong way. I'll face it towards me and do it. It should be okay. It is tight, isn't it? So what I would suggest is you need to then probably file off a little bit from the front. I think I've put too much on it. So just wipe it away if you've put too much on it or you've found that you've covered it. I've just gone and put too much gel on it. And let me just take a little bit more of this. Oops. This is what, maybe it would be easier if I just taped it, because I've got so much inside, I just realised. There we go. This is called real time. Just working it out. Right, let's go back. Now that should have done it, fixed it for me. I'm hoping. There you go. Ooh, there we go. I'm still having difficulty. I think I'll give it to Paul to give it a go.
Talk amongst yourselves.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to do the snowflakes. So I'm going to let you do it. I think I've just there we go. Sorry, I wasn't pushing it in right enough. So can I just show everybody now how that looks? Yeah. And look. Is that on top? Now I'm going to use a ribbon to try and push through this. It's not the easiest thing to do, but I do want to use the ribbon because I think it'll look really, really pretty and really bring the colours out. So you can see where I'm going with it. So you would paint all the snowflake as well. So doesn't that look really lovely? So that's where we've got to so far. Now going back to the snowflakes, I'm just going to leave that there for a moment. So it's quite sturdy. And I'm going to go back to the snowflakes and I'm just going to do exactly what I did on the previous one. Let's have a look at what colour we think we might want them. I think I'll go with the blue again because the blue will actually match the base. So what we want to do is just put a little bit of the crackle paste there. And you could even do this if you wanted to. You could just sponge this on as well. Again, you know, because you've got little bits, just use your paper clip to get to remove it. And sometimes what I do is I just do this because the crackle is just so good. You can just go, when you've got things which are so detailed, you can just go in like that. So that's another cheats way of doing it. Right, so let's get this back on. I think I've got everything that I could possibly have on my hands. And again, you'll get that really lovely crackled effect on these little snowflakes. They're just so cute. And there we all go. It's so nice to see. So cute. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use, I've managed to get glitter paste all over my hands, I have to add. I'm going to take some of the new rose gold wax paste, which is absolutely beautiful, and I'm going to just rub that over the top of these. So just take a little bit, just take it off my mat and start to rub that. Look, can you see that? Magic, it's Christmas! It's beautiful! It is so Christmassy, I think. And then we're just going to bring that in over the top. And I'm just going to do that on all the snowflakes on these. And there we go. So you could have put the glitter paste on, you could put this on. So it's just giving you different effects. I mean, obviously, you know, then if you see that on your snow boot, let me go back. You can do, oops, where am I going with this? You dropped it. So you can just see how that's going to be. It's just going to look amazing. So what I'm going to do is, it's still wet. Everything's quite wet. So I would let everything dry, cover everything, and then you can start to go back in. So I'm going to start threading the ribbon. What I did was, I just took a ribbon, which I thought would work really, really well with this colour, and I've sort of from the rubbing really. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and thread this through, because it is hard when you want to thread ribbon through sometimes, but you could even use twine if you wanted to. So all I'm going to do is just push it with my paper clip and push it through to the other side, and then keep threading that through until I've actually threaded it all through. So I'm just winding it around my fingers so that I can get that to go through to the other side. And it takes a little bit of time, but once you've done it, it's just such a nice rewarding effect with the ribbon. It's organza ribbon, so it's really, really soft. So it works really well with this technique. So I'm just going to push that through. Just be patient with it, but it will take a little bit of time, but it is worth it, I think, to do this technique. And then just keep pulling it through. And it just gives it such a lovely, lovely finish. It's just gives it that really, like, you know, finish to the boot really, because you wouldn't get that finish otherwise. So let's just keep pulling that through, so you can just see how lovely that looks. And in fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this bit and I'm going to push it through this side, because I think it will be a nicer finish. So there we go. And that's it. So you can just see where I'm going with this. So there we go. And it's taken me a bit longer, but I do want to. I like to do it, so I feel like you can follow, and you're doing, as I'm making mistakes or as I'm doing it, you can also do this. So it's really important to me. I love what I do, and I want to share it, and you know, and if I can share it, then it makes me happy. So, and then we go once more through here, and again, you know, don't worry about this too much. It's, you know, it'll all come together, and then we just do that. I think I forgot about this one. There we go. And then just pull it through. There we go. And then all we're going to do is just tidy that all up. You've got a little bit at the top. So what I've done is I've left a little bit at the top, so that if you have tightened it, you've got the option of going back and just pulling all of these through. So again, it really depends on the look you're looking for, of whether you want it to be loose or you want it to be tighter. And then what I would do is I would actually take that bit and I would glue that to the back. And then you've got this bit at the top as well. So you can just see, it really does make it look like a proper ice skate by doing that. So let's get that tightened up a little bit. Let's get that glued into the other side. Now, what you would do is decorate both sides, and then you could come back to this and just, let me get my glue gun. Let me just, it's having a fight with something else at the moment. Let me just glue that in. So obviously you can take your time at home and do this. And then what we're going to do is we're going to start to glue in the top bit here as well, so that I can see how this is going to work at the top as well. So we're going to put that there. So you can just see, all I'm going to do is just, it's really easy because it's so light. It's just to put that onto the top of my boot here. And there we go. So can you see how that's now looking? There we go. So, oh, I've got the sort of all over the place there, wasn't I? There you go. Sorry about that. So you can just see, and then maybe you want to pull these a little bit tighter, you can do. Just push into the back. There we go. And then you've got that like a better, you know, again, it really depends how you want to do it, how you want that look to look. So don't worry, you know, just have a play, have a look at how things should be. And I'm just tucking some ribbon around the back now. And just have a little bit of a fiddle of how you think you might want it to look. There we go. Come here, little ribbon. I've got a bit of a ribbon at the back that I want to pull through. So just doing that. There we go. And then that makes it a little bit tidier at the back. Now what I would do is I would do the front and the back and then put the ribbon in. I wouldn't do it before. And then that way you've got a little bit more control over it as well. So you've got a little bit more going on. So you've got to that stage, then I would actually put a bow as well. So to finish that little top bit off. So it gives you an idea of what that might look like. And I've got to just turn it towards me. And stick that just there. So that's just how it's looking so far. So I think it's just so pretty of how it comes together. And then if we take each of the snowflakes and start to use those to also embellish it a little bit. So we might want to put one here. You know, you might not want to use all three, or you might want to use all three. So again, just take your time. You know, you can make this into, you could put flowers onto this, you could put your, you know, your ivy onto this. You could put so much onto this, and I'm just seeing where I want to position the next one.
Here.
So I think just down there, and so you can keep doing it opposite ways round. And then I just want to do a little bit more, one more. I like doing things in threes, so it always adds to it. So, and then I might put one. Let's have a look. Let's have a look. Maybe just over here. There we go. So far that's where I've got to. I'm going to start to add some gems to those as well. And now what you can do is you can go in again with glitter pens. You can go in and really embellish your actual piece of art. When all this is dry and all the glitter paste, the ice effect I should say, is dry, you'll get a even, you know, a lovely finish to all this. I'm just putting some little gems on so that you've got a little bit more going on. And again, you could even put, you know, once this is dry at the bottom, which is starting to get dried, you can even go in with your rose gold and add a little bit more to the edges. And I would paint all around the edges, the blue. So can you see how I'm just added a little bit to that, and that's absolutely gone so beautiful. So you can just see where the rose gold is on that. So I think Paul's panning in so we can have a nosy. There you go. So that makes just that little bit of difference, but enough to just make it pop. And I love this new rose gold. So, and again, we could even put a little bit of it on the skate itself as well. So it just adds all of this is about adding detail to your projects and just doing something which is a little bit different. Obviously, please at home do take your time when you're doing this. But you know, that's where, look at all that detail. And now what I need to do is go back in again and start to paint all of the skate and the edges and the edges around the actual snowflake itself. But it does make it feel like it's a real winter scene. So let me carry on with just a little bit more painting so you can at least see the effect when I've gone back in again with that. And I just think it really does add to it. So if you were to just go back over the boot in the blue and just give it that sort of rusticy finish on the edges, and you'll get that feel. So you know, you've got to paint all the edges and just bring it all back in, and then so you'll do all that, and then that'll match all the snowflakes, all the little bits you've done. And so you can just see how nice then that starts to look already. And then you really do then just bring a little bit of that into your boot, so you've got that coming in. And again, you know, take your time and just paint over the bits that you want to paint. And it doesn't matter if you go over the ribbon, because in fact it really adds to it adds more to it. Let me take this around a little bit so you can see. It adds more to it by adding more texture to your whole project, and I just love that about it. And again, like I said, just bring it in wherever you've had a little bit, and this just makes it more blend. It makes it more look like it's more authentic, and just bring it all in, because at the end of the day, you know, it is what you make it. So you can just see already. We'll put a little bit of blue onto our ice skate. Just to again, it's all about blending it in and just adding a little bit more texture to all of your piece. So can you see how I'm getting, upside down totally. See where we're going with that. So you can just see now that actually you're getting this really nice sort of finish on your ice skate. So let me just take it and do these bits, because I'm well aware that these bits haven't been done and they just need to be done. And again, if you have any difficulty, what you can do is you can spritz these as well. So while you've still got the paint on, and just spritz them, and that will give you a really nice finish as well, because that means if you're having difficulty painting into them or anything, then you can do that as well, and that just adds to all of it. And I want it to look rustic. I don't want it to look, so you can see already where I've started to paint it, that it's starting to really take shape. So that's what I've got to with it. So you can just see it's absolutely, it's a really nice way to work. And again, you can bring in a little bit more of the ice effect to add to a little bit more of it, so that if you want a little bit of ice effect on your snowflakes, which would be nice as well, that you can actually just add it wherever you want it, maybe on the base of the bird, or you want it to be just a little bit more icy, then the ice effect is definitely the one to go for. And then you can just see that even though you've got all of that, it's actually really, really nice. And maybe to the edge of the boot, just on the side here as well, where you've had it. So obviously, as I always say, you know, you can take it to whatever stage you want to take it to. Let me just show you, I'll put this away and show you how that looks so far. So you can see that we've got this really lovely effect from having the rice paper. We put ribbon into it, we put the ice effect into it, we put some glamour into it. So it's a really lovely project for Christmas. And what I would do is I would carry on decorating it. I would put some more little glitter bits into each of the, probably a 3D decor pen, and add more. I'll do a little bit more to it, and then I'll post a picture of this, but I'll also post the video so that you can actually have a go at this. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope you can join me again.